Cool. All right. Welcome, everybody. We'll let everyone have a few minutes to trickle in here, but we're really excited to get this webinar started today. Introductions, first and foremost. My name's Nate. Nate Jones, CEO of Structurally. And today we're really excited. I'm really excited to be joined by Gabe Cordova, president of Firepoint. What's up, Gabe?
Hey, not much. Just living the dream, working with agents every day, and trying to figure out how do we make this better, faster, easier, and just help our fellow agents out.
Yeah, absolutely. Really appreciate you being on. I think that together we have a really exciting kind of powerhouse about automation. We've got a lot of features that can really help to automate every aspect of agents' lives, teams' lives, and that's what we're all kind of striving for at the end of the day. Because real estate's tough, mortgage is tough. We want to try and automate as much as possible. So that is really the topic that we're covering today. I'll share my screen, but today we're mostly covering how to build your real estate pipeline with authentic automation. I do think that the authentic piece is one part that I'm most excited about. Usually you hear a lot about everything, that you can automate, should automate, and there's definitely a time and place for that. But I think the next generation of automation, of technology, is really that authenticity piece. And it can come from a lot of different things that we'll get into. But I'm really excited to jump in.
Yep, 100%.
So kind of taking just one step back, we're going to talk a lot about, your pipeline, building up your real estate pipeline. And at a high level, obviously your pipeline essentially means your leads, but it can also mean, past clients potentially. If you kind of think about it, a really common analogy in the technology space is like a flywheel, like a circle, a gear that just keeps spinning. If, you have more leads who hopefully you close, who hopefully are super excited about what you've done for them, who then refer you new customers, and it's just a continuous circle. We're not really going to be talking a lot about the past clients, that sort of part of your pipeline, although there's definitely a time and place for that. We're going to be talking a lot about the new and old leads, people who you haven't really closed yet.
Yeah, I mean, and I think if we're honest, and if you're an agent on a team or a team lead, that's really where, I've been running teams and building teams now for 18 years, but that's where we fail. And it's not against anybody. It's just the most common place where we fall down. And I think what I love about what we're about to talk about, what you put together, is kind of understanding where to let go and then where to focus. And I think that will really help people fix that broken part in their business, which is that lead conversion.
Yeah, absolutely. So diving in kind of just at the new leads. So what we define as a new lead is, someone who's registered recently on your website, PPC, portal, wherever. They're pretty new. They, they're essentially actively looking or recently looking. So I'm sure everyone here has kind of heard the phrase speed to lead. That one has been, beat to death for the last couple of years for good reason. So obviously new inquiries you need to get to within 5 minutes. We've heard that phrase. We've heard you're 21 times less likely to contact them after 5 minutes. I don't really think I need to, tell you why that's important, but it's such a competitive space. We're all aware of that. 1.2 million realtors trying to sell 5.5 million houses a year. The best are going to win. And it obviously comes down to just doing the basics, like responding to your new leads extremely quickly. So there's a lot.
I'm gonna touch on something right there, Nate, actually, because I think speed to lead, there's still a misunderstanding. And here's what I see all the time. It's all right, well, it's going to come into, Firepoint or whatever it is, and I need to accept that lead right away. But what you said at the tail end of that is respond to. And I know that sounds dumb and so elementary, but I see it way too often, a majority of the time, where they think speed to lead is just accepting it and getting some listings going or something. That's speed to lead. And that is absolutely what you're not talking about and what you're going to go into. So I just want to make sure anybody watching this live on the webinar or rewatching, the speed to lead does not mean you've distributed it or accepted it. It's responding to and getting that response, which is what I love what you're focusing on here.
Yeah, absolutely. So After you've accepted it, you do need to respond to them. Absolutely, for sure. And then hopefully, even after that, your ultimate goal here is to get the lead to respond. There's a whole lot of stuff that we'll cover in doing just that. But once you've done the very, very difficult task of getting your lead to respond, you cannot ghost them. You have to respond to them. So I think that there's a second piece that's super important, which is speed to response, meaning you need to respond to their response, respond to them extremely fast. So those are leads that have actually responded to you, are existing leads. They expect to hear back from you within 30 minutes, 24 hours max. If it's more than 24 hours, they're probably going to move on, or they've talked to someone else. You're going to have a hard time hearing back from them again.
Yep.
So obviously the number one goal, kind of just backtracking, of speed to lead is to just get the lead to respond. So you can see a few examples here. There's lots of really interesting, fun little things that you can get to help a lead respond, like this fun little message where we send a GIF of the Toy Story aliens asking if they've been abducted by aliens, or if we need to call Elon Musk to help them out. Ultimately, all we're doing here is trying to get them to respond, even if it's just they respond back 1, 2, or 3, one of these 3 options. We see that all the time.
So I'm going to be kind of Captain Obvious, but I don't think it is. Guys, if you're listening to what Nate is saying, it's goal number 1 is to not set a freaking appointment. And if you disagree with me, or a coach does, I will show you 1,000 more examples. It's all about the response. I love that you're focusing on the response. And if it's me, this is a focus on the service, not the sale. There are too many people being self-service, thinking they're calling, instantly wanting that appointment. The goal, you nailed it here, is a response. Get them to respond.
Yeah, ultimately, in sales, all you're doing is selling the next step. At some point, that next step is an appointment, but right away, off the bat, that's not it. It's just simply getting them to respond. And once we get them to respond, it's exactly like what you said, Gabe. It's a service mindset, not a sales mindset. A lot of that can be embodied in listening, mirroring, and matching. So you can see an example of a conversation that our product has with the lead, which our product is artificial intelligence, an AI bot, if you will, that responds to leads. It not only reaches out to leads and gets them to respond, but it actually has a two-way conversation. So you can see an example of a two-way conversation that we had here. So it's kind of mirroring things that they've said back. They said Hendersonville and Gallatin. We just say it back. It's as simple as that, asking, just saying and repeating back the things, mirroring and matching. If they use GIFs, send GIFs back. If they use emojis, send emojis back. Just be interesting, have a conversation with them. Don't always go in for the appointment right away. There's a time and place for that.
And Nate, I don't think we've actually done a webinar before, and so I'm going to throw you under the bus like I do everybody. So you're getting an account card. Do you? And I don't know. We don't practice this crap. Do you guys have stats, or what are you guys seeing as far as responses with or without gifts? Because I was actually just having a conversation this morning with a team lead that has multiple teams, and we were talking about the effectiveness of GIFs versus video or something like that in text messages. So I'd love to hear what you guys are seeing, or if you have any stats on that.
I don't have the exact stats off the top of my head, so you did throw me under the bus.
Yeah, sorry. But what are you seeing? What is your gut? Or, I mean, you guys have been doing this for a long time. You guys are smart guys running a great company. What are you guys seeing and feeling and doing?
They're definitely higher. GIF responses get higher response rate, or GIF messages get higher response rates. It's not necessarily, like this is a fun one. At the end of the day, it doesn't totally matter. Like, you want to make the GIF relevant to the message that you sent, but it's the humanness, it's the authenticity piece that makes it actually feel like not automated. I think that the days of the autoresponder, the auto drips, those are dead. People have sniffed those out. They can tell when they're on a sequence or a cadence or an auto response drip campaign. They can tell. And so everything that you can do to make them think about that and say, wow, maybe that was a real person who just texted me that. That's huge. And GIFs are one way that happens.
I love it, because everybody else just would have made up a stat. And I love the authenticity, but it is better. It's much better. We've been playing with it. in our campaigns or just in our initial lead stuff, definitely seeing a higher response. And I love it also because, let's just face it, agents are nervous about doing a lot of video right now. And it may not be the right place on these new leads. So GIFs, I think, are a great way to add a human element to this. And it's seeing great responses, everybody I've spoken to.
Yeah, absolutely. One, I don't know if it's in this deck, but I think it might be in a video here later on. But there's one little piece of advice that I like to give on every webinar. One of our most successful drip messages that we send to unresponsive leads is what we call like the 12-minute text. I'm sure you've seen it a couple times, but basically right after they register, we send them a message within 2 minutes, thanks for registering. Let us know how we can help, whatever. And then after 12 minutes, if they don't respond, we just send a message that says, let me know if I can help. Yep. And that has our highest response rate of any message in our drip, because people just immediately tune out that first message. They're like, that was an autoresponder, wasn't a person, I don't care to even look at it. But when they get a little secondary message, almost 10 minutes later, they're like, whoa, that was a real person, sorry. And one of the most common responses we see back from them is, oh, sorry, I thought this was a computer. Yeah. And then actually respond. So
that's awesome. It opens up the door. I mean, even if that response is just looking, right? Well, we see that. That's awesome. Perfect. Yeah. Something later this year or next year, right? It opens up and make it about them. So yeah, I love it. All right, go. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you, but
no, those are great. I think that's definitely what we're here to talk about, is the little pieces of your automation that are authentic and make it feel human. So I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, kind of once you actually get a lead to respond, obviously one of the jobs that you're tasked with is to handle any objections. And like you just said, Gabe, one of the most common responses that we see is, oh, I was just looking. So one of the ways that we combat that is not only do we come out and kind of ask that right away, one of the first questions that our default scripts in our product use is, hey, saw you were looking on our website. Are you just looking? Or are you thinking, or I think I flipped that. Hey, saw you were looking on our website. Are you thinking about making the move soon? Or are you just looking? Obviously, we're kind of leading them into say just looking, because that's super easy for them to say. But then we kind of get into here, like a conversation. You see on the screen here. So, hey, Tyler, thanks for checking in. I'm just beginning my search. I'll let you know. Sure. So it sounds like you're just kind of looking and getting a feel for the market. And then we ask kind of a fear of missing out question, FOMO.
I love the FOMO.
Yeah. So we ask, if the right property came on the market in the next 90 days, would you pass on that opportunity? So it's not necessarily pushy or aggressive. It's, we want to be here to help. And if we see the right property, we don't want you to miss it. And this is a really, really great, simple objection handler that you can use yourself. You can use products like ours to help you, but be ready for them.
Yeah. And what I love about what you guys do is, again, I'm going to be honest, working with teams across the country, all over Canada, agents, when they read that first message, we're service friendly, fun loving people for the most part, right? A lot of agents just won't send this. Some will, but a lot won't. And I've seen over and over where you guys have sent a message like this and you get more information. And it's okay if it's a year out, but a lot of times it's much less. And the agents just always assume when they hear that just looking that it's long term. So this allows you to put it in the right funnel, the right spot in your funnel.
Yep, exactly. And if they are further out, or they do ghost you, which is really, really common, you'll get an objection like you see here. Thanks for checking in. I'm not ready to go, but I'll let you know when I'm ready to roll. They're probably a little ways out. We handle that. We ask them the objection handler, but then as you can see here, it was May, and then I can't remember when this message went out, but it was like a month later, or a few months, actually. It says it right there, a few months later. So they ghosted us. I'm sure we've all been on the receiving end of this. We sit there and try and ping people until they respond. We do get them to respond, and then we never hear from them again. Well, you can't give up. And we call this feature in our product re-drips, and it's exactly how it sounds. You're restarting a drip campaign after a lead has once responded, and that's to prevent ghosting. It's an anti-ghosting tactic. And I think that everyone can kind of learn from that and maybe even look through their database now, which Gabe will get to later on when we get into old leads. But there's a huge opportunity probably sitting in your database right now for leads that have ghosted you. They've responded. They may or may not have said something about their interest, but you should reach out to them just like we did here a few months later and actually got them to respond, which is great. We keep the process moving.
Yeah. So here's poor Nate. I feel bad for Nate. Somebody should have warned Nate. So I'm going to change mindset here if you're listening to this, because I hear it all the time, the ghosted, and agents are very, they take things personally, right? I love that you use ghosted because it's just easy to figure out, okay, they just disappeared, right? We got it. What I love about what you guys do, and again, it's where agents stop, is they just kind of stop, and they have the best intentions of coming back and bringing them back in. First of all, I don't think it's a great use of their time. They're focusing in the wrong area, which I know you're going to get to, so I don't steal your thunder. But agents, team leads, they're not ghosting. I don't believe they're ghosting. They're just not ready, right? And when they are ready, whoever is doing exactly what Nate is showing you is who's going to get them to engage and or get them to do something, again, that we're going to touch base here in a minute, that allows you to focus on a different aspect of what's happening to get the deal.
Yeah, the thing about it is you don't know what has changed in their life in between when you last spoke to them and 3 months from now. They might have lost their job. They might have had a new kid. They might have changed jobs, all reasons to move, that if you're just timely and relevant and shoot them a message at the right time, you might just catch them right when they need to move. And that's what you're ideally trying to do, and ideally trying to automate, because you've probably got a huge pipeline. You've probably got a lot of people who are in different phases, different parts of the pipeline that it's hard to stay on top of. So you need to have a great system in place, great tools in place, and just set constant reminders and don't be afraid or turned off by people ghosting you. Set a reminder, follow up with them, and don't really ask questions. It's part of your job to stay in front of them. So kind of recapping the anatomy of an authentic conversation. I'll try and play this. Maybe it won't work. Okay. Oh, there it goes. So basically this is that full conversation that I've been kind of showing parts of. There's that little let me know if I can help message, which they didn't respond to, but that's what I love. So you can see we dripped them for quite a while, a number of times, until they finally responded. Again, this is that same conversation, handled their objection, re-dripped them after they ghosted us, and continued to send them messages. So we're going to continue to re-drip them. I'm sure we will later on, but this is just a part of what goes into the very difficult job of lead conversion. It is a grind. It is a long game. If every one of the leads you got just came in instantly and said, yeah, I'm ready to move, then we would all be realtors. That's just not how they work. But if you kind of follow some of these steps, respond to them quickly and consistently, respond back instantly, objection handle and challenge them, don't get ghosted, respond back instantly, rinse and repeat. Oh, that was a duplicate.
And I love when you showed there. And again, just all I ask is when you're watching this back, or if you're watching it now, start from a point of honesty. Are you going to stay in front of them like that? Because most agents are not, right? They're just not going to do it. And the next section is where you really should be focusing your time. This is one thing I love about, what you guys are doing, Nate, is where we lose the most deals is in that new process, which is weird because agents are obsessed with new leads. I've hired and brought agents on to my team for a couple decades now, and they always want the new stuff. And it doesn't matter how many times I tell them, focus on the old leads. Focus on the old leads. Let us take care of a lot of this nurturing. First of all, you're not going to do a good job of it. It's not personal. It's just life. It's not the work you want to do. So help me help you take care of the crap you don't want to do and that you're not going to do. And then you focus on this part. So I love that you segmented this, because this is where the money is.
Yeah, absolutely. So switching gears, just like what Gabe was saying, we always believe that this is where the money is. We've talked a lot on previous webinars that we believe that if you shut off new leads entirely, you could probably make just as much money. just by combing through your existing database. We don't suggest you do that. We think that there's the continuous flywheel that's really important to continue to build your pipeline, and keep it consistent. But old leads are definitely a part of your pipeline and are filled with gold. So we're going to kind of talk a little bit about different ways that you can kind of identify areas for old leads within potentially Firepoint, and then potentially using tools like Structurally to help engage those leads. But kind of starting off, you could do things like segment your leads within Firepoint who were created within or over a year ago. So what we found, our product again works with old leads. We have different scripts, we have different drips. We are totally geared up to handle these old leads in a different way because they need different kind of touch points and conversations. But we found a really good sweet spot of leads that are a year to 2 years old. These are people who probably were just looking at that point that they registered and are now kind of coming up hopefully on that time. The typical PPC Facebook type lead is a year to 18 months out. Most leads are kind of around that range. If you're in the portal leads, they're potentially a little bit earlier. But hopefully you're approaching that sweet spot, 18 months out, which is why we're kind of creating this segment. Anything beyond that, we've seen a lot of, I have no idea who you are. I don't remember registering, wrong number. And so I'd be a little more careful if you're going to look beyond kind of the 2-year mark. So once you've kind of filtered by that create date of about 1 to 2 years, you can do things in Firepoint like segment by lead activity. This is something that I personally would find really interesting because, obviously you want to kind of go down this list of predefined last activity dates. So if you find someone who was created in the last year, who's been active in the last 7 days, they're probably pretty warm. They're probably pretty hot. They're doing something again on the website in a time frame that's, conducive to when they probably should be looking again. So obviously kind of start with these higher or more recent last activity dates and work down the list that way. But this is a really, really powerful way to potentially see who's back on your website, who might be an older lead.
Yeah. And Nate, do you mind if I kind of jump in and speak to this real quick? I want to jump in. Actually, I'll just pull up my database. I want to actually give some context to what you just said.
Yep. I'll hand it over to you.
Cool. Let me share my screen real quick. So because what you said is really important. I want to make sure. So most everybody, when they're thinking lead generation, you do follow up, right? They're thinking, well, I got to follow up a lot of times, which you do, unless you have something like Structurally, that AI that's doing a lot for you. And what your day typically looks like is just pulling up. I just pulled up a task list of this is a real account, typical agent. This does not inspire me. Stay in touch base, check in properties, follow up, check in. We do not get motivated to log in every day and see overdue tasks or tasks today. And a lot of this is just literally that staying in front of them constantly to be there when they raise their hand. None of us get motivated. We can all move on. We don't want to do this. What Nate is saying is that we're focusing on the older leads, or focusing on activity, right? So the key takeaway that I'd love to give you is, to me, tasks are for somebody you spoke with and you have a specific follow-up on a date or an appointment or something like that. When you're doing your prospecting, you're looking at those leads, I love that he's talking about activity. So one of my favorites is coming in and I want to just filter my database with a quick button. Who in the last 7 days have viewed the most amount of properties, right? If I'm only reaching out to people who are taking actions like coming to my website and clicking on homes, that's way more in my wheelhouse. To me, that's not cold calling. I know what's going on. So instantly I can see who's been on here. This person's looking at 62, 56. I mean, look at this. This guy's been on here or gal on here since 2017, right? It's now on the hot stage. We've got a mix of everything going on, but you'll start noticing if I was to go through, a lot of the nurtures and the ones coming in getting closer are newer leads, but you can instantly see what's going on, right? So I know I'm always talking to people thinking real estate. If you have a call night, come in, drill it down even more. Like, you know what? In the last 24 hours, who's looked at the most amount of properties? Now I can quickly see, why is it the number one person out of 30,000 leads has viewed 18 homes in the last 24 hours is unknown, right? I know there's a missed opportunity here. And then, okay, these nurtures. I said they're in a nurture category. Are they still on the time frame that I was thinking? Just a quick way to go in and segment these, right? And take the thought out of this follow-up too. One thing I love to do, if I know this listed are the most active people, grab 40 and throw them into a dialing session. You already know they're looking at property. If you want to do the follow-up, let your AI texting do that new lead nurturing. Now look at these more mature leads that are on the website doing things that you have some stats, right? I can start that dialing session. So just make it a lot easier. Another one, I'm not sure if he showed it. You really want to start drilling down your database. I love going a little bit longer time frame, but then coming in and actually not only just looking at properties, who's actually saving favorites, right? So I can now see somebody save 7 favorites in the last 7 days. 5, who are these people? I'm really concerned when I start seeing unknown and they're saving a bunch of favorites. All right, they're talking to somebody or doing something to take action. But focus on the activity, not follow-up tasks. Now, you're a team lead, don't send me hate email. I'm not saying don't do your tasks. I'm like, save tasks for people you speak with that you want to make sure don't slip through the cracks. Use filters like filtering by favorites, property views, responses to AI text, things like that, to focus your follow-up time, that lead conversion, so you know you're only reaching out to people who are thinking real estate. And they're just super quick, easy ways to get these call lists that we take out all the guesswork, right? So we're just literally going to dish up people who are talking to AI, people who are clicking on homes, people who are saving favorites, all of that information. So it's really allowing you to focus on activity, not just follow-up tasks to people you've never spoken to. That's the, I won't say crap, but that's the crap that Nate instructs you. Let them do all that for you. Let them get them to raise their hand and start taking activity. And now you insert yourself when they're doing actionable items that you can offer service.
Mm-hmm. That is why I love the phrase authentic automation, because the 2 words are how, products like Firepoint and Structurally should work with you. Our products help you automate. That's the automation. You are the human, are authentic. And so if you can help yourself focus more on the authentic pieces that you're good at, like calling, like following up with people who have a task, that's where you excel. That's where you should be spending your time. And that's frankly what you're good at. AI and CRMs and marketing automation tools are great at automation. They don't forget to follow up. They don't forget tasks. They're consistent, and they don't really care or get tired when they see, huge task lists.
Well, and ask yourself this: do I want to come into a lead that has 0 history, that's brand new, and spend a week, a month, 6 months to get them to finally do something? Or do I want to be able to come in knowing that this lead has looked at the most amount of homes, be able to quickly come in and go, okay, well, yesterday she looked at 13 properties, saved 5 favorites. Here are the ones that she looked at twice. Okay, I'm ready to call, right? Here I go, I'm going to place my call, and I have more information. This is why we're saying focus on the older leads, the leads that have been nurtured up for you, that have been basically primed to get on, start looking at more property, and you have information. I'm 10 times more likely, 1,000 times more likely to want to call this person and talk about these homes in these areas versus somebody who I have 0 insight on. So what we're saying is there are tools, systems, partners like Structurally that allow you to just focus on this more exciting aspect and part of that funnel. Let them do that top of funnel stuff. That's what we're trying to say. And we also know you don't want to do it. So just don't.
Yeah, absolutely. I can take back over for now. If you want to jump in.
I got all soapboxes, Nate. Sorry.
No, that was really good. I appreciate kind of your perspective, because you run teams, you're running the team, and you have an idea of what agents do and don't like doing, and obviously essentially cold calling. Even if it's a new lead, it's a cold call. It's someone that you don't know much about that's going to take some time to nurture, and that's why you have all those different segments in your database that help surface, different priority leads to you. And it's daunting. And I'm glad to see it kind of firsthand. But I think that a little bit, this might be a little redundant now, since you covered it. Yeah. No, I mean, essentially exactly what you said. Would I would definitely agree that property views and favorites are really good signals, indicators that people are starting to do something that actually helps them move into a next step. So if you can filter by those,
Yeah,
that's
last
great.
login, I mean, that's a great one too.
Mhm.
Inquiry I love because they're literally raising their hand, and we surface those right up. But when you're, it just do something to focus on their activity. I mean, the biggest thing I love to talk about is it is their journey, not ours. When every lead comes in, we want them to be an appointment right away. Unless we all know it's not happening. So let the AI, let all that do a lot of this, and then focus on their activity. And just remember, it's their journey. Your whole point again is to get them to respond, or by seeing the data, trying to understand where they are in their journey, and then just ask the questions. Right? It's just being available. And I like to call these kind of all magic buttons, the ones that you're showing here. And I love the bottom, I think it's the bottom 6 are my most favorite, because it literally are all different ways of looking at your database. And we take all the guesswork out. You shouldn't have to come in really as far as any of your follow-up prospecting time and do anything other than drop this menu down and just pick some of these,
Mhm.
right? They just literally dish it all up, and then just be you and focus on that service, not the sale. And we took everything else out. This is literally just the most active, lowest hanging fruit in your database.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think you showed it, but there's a button, I believe, especially in, I think it's down here, but you guys, if you're using Firepoint, you can export these lists, right, to CSV.
Yep.
And right now, either through that or through partners like RealSync, if you're familiar with them, it's essentially like a automation tool that allows Structurally and Firepoint to talk to one another. One of the ways that we can talk to one another is by looking at different leads that have been tagged or segmented, which can then push over into Structurally, which we can respond to. So that's one way you can get the segmented leads that we've kind of shown, that Gabe kind of walked through. The other way is just a simple export. Either way, one way or the other, Structurally itself can work your old leads too. And like I was saying in kind of when we started down this, was the script changes, the drips change. So you can see here, it's a little bit different. Hey, Jane, I'm Taylor, an assistant here. You've been on one of our sites a while back. Wanted to see if you're thinking about a move or still just looking. So slightly, changed. It references that they didn't just register, but they've been on one of our sites in the past, and then uses that really great opener. Were you thinking about making a move, or are you just looking? And then again, bringing this full circle, we're trying to get a response. So yes, hey Taylor, yes, we've just found out we're looking, or we're having a new baby boy and would like to start looking. And then on the authentic piece, that's something that our AI excels at. It can do some of those authenticity pieces, like saying, congrats on the new child. That's so exciting, and happy to help you get started. Mind telling me about what you're looking for? So all the while, hopefully this entire conversation is now being synced back into Firepoint, being surfaced with different tags, hopefully updating different parts of the segments and priorities, so that you can do your job of jumping in once a lead becomes, in Structurally system, what we call agent ready. And those are the leads that are, hot. They're asking for you to take a next step with them. Those are the leads that you don't have to spend months chasing, just getting them to respond, getting them to tell you, yes, I'm ready to take a next step. These are just people you can, just like Gabe showed you, that you can jump in, hit dial, and you're off and running, and hopefully you can meet with them in person and close the deal.
100%. I mean, think about it like this. If you get a referral from somebody, do you want a name and a number, and like, I know nothing about them, I think they might be, or do you want like, hey, here's a name and number. They said they're looking, it might be next year, but these are kind of the areas they're focused on. You want this. This is really what you want, right? So I mean, I would just kind of think about in that aspect is, what would I ideally want if somebody's handing me a referral or warming something up? This is exactly what it is.
Absolutely. And, like I kind of mentioned earlier, we're talking about, how different systems can play together, which is just a part of authentic automation and a part of what goes into building and managing your pipeline. So tools like Firepoint, like Structurally, can integrate and work together using products like RealSync. But a lot of what you need to consider on the tools and product side is how can you use tools to surface hot and ready leads. And that can come from a number of different ways. It can come from what they're saying in a conversation, which hopefully Structurally can help with. It can come from what they're doing on a website, which is something Firepoint can help with. It can come from, are they retargeting on Facebook? Are they interacting with ads, PPC? There's a lot of different intents and triggers and activity and different signals that people put off when they're ready to move. You need to have the tools in place to manage all of that and hopefully surface the ones that are ready for you, which again kind of comes back to the authentic automation piece. You're the authenticity part as a human. The automation part should come from a combination of all these tools.
And what I love about what we're building together, we've been working together and chatting for years, and actually working on some really exciting stuff that people need to stay tuned for. But I mean, you could do this just with Structurally, or you can do this just with Firepoint. The goal is though, is you need to stay in front of them. You've got to do it quickly, consistently. Well, first you have to capture them. Let me back up, right? You're capturing and they're coming in. We at Firepoint can help you with that in multiple different areas, but then get to them quickly, stay in front of them, make it authentic. That is Structurally. Get it ready. Get it that hot ready or agent ready, I think is what you said. That's all Structurally. And then take it over and then repeat, right? So it's when you combine the systems, that's where really the magic happens and are definitely stronger together.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's essentially kind of all we have. I think we've covered a lot of the different aspects, from new leads to old leads to the tools and process you need to put in place, as well as what you should be doing as a human once you actually have everything working for you, hopefully.
I'm going to give you a stat. You didn't ask for it, but I'm going to throw it out there. So once we started doing AI texting and really letting AI help with that top of funnel, I've been known for online lead conversion for a long time. And before I came over to Firepoint, our team did a little over 800 sales in 1 year. And over 600 of those were online leads that we had generated. Now, not that year, we'd nurtured them for quite a while. But our cash conversion cycle, meaning when we bought those leads, when we generated them, from when they finally closed, our average was up in that 18 to 20 months. But implementing AI texting and exactly what you just showed to help with that beginning nurturing, we've cut that almost in half. I mean, it is really, so not only do we start selling more, we were missing more of that low-hanging fruit because we weren't following enough at the beginning. So we were missing a lot of those people who were further down the funnel and we didn't realize it, right? So, online lead generation is not something you turn on and start seeing sales day one. You start seeing leads day one, but man, that conversion cycle when implementing exactly what Nate put together and relying on that consistent, authentic touch points immediately when they came on, we saw that conversion cycle cut in half.
That's really awesome. And if anyone has any questions, now's the time, jump in. But on that point, we talked a lot today about your pipeline, real estate pipeline, building your pipeline. That's important. You want to always have a full pipeline, but at the end of the day, you don't want people in your pipeline. You want to move them through as quickly as possible.
Yes.
And replace it. And so pipeline velocity is super important. Cutting it down from 18 months to 9 months is huge, because not only can you have more in your pipeline, you essentially just want to cut down your sales cycle. It's something that we do at Structurally. Everyone in sales is here to essentially reduce their sales cycle as quickly as possible, because there's so many offshoots of benefits of reducing your sales cycle that are hugely important.
Yeah, no, it's massive. And again, let the systems and the tools work for you. Just let go of certain areas. Typically it's the areas you don't want to do anyway. That's why they've been built, and great things happen. So
awesome. Well, yeah, this was really great, Gabe. I think we covered everything, from authentic automation to automation itself to, building your pipeline quickly and getting it through. Really excited. Where can more people find out about Firepoint and yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, firepoint.net's a great spot to go. We do have kind of a promo running because we are working on some integration and some really exciting stuff with Structurally. So just mention you saw this. We got a great promo going where we're getting you in, waiving the first month, all but $1 to get you in, get you going, so you can actually get your database, bring it over, and start getting it in the AI cycle for Structurally. Or if you don't have a database, you're just going to start doing some new lead gen, you can start with that as well, and we can get that going. So yeah, just go to firepoint.net. Do mention this and ask them for the promo details.
Very cool. Yeah, and you can find more about us at structurally.com. You can find this webinar on the Structurally YouTube page. I think Gabe said he'll be replaying this to Firepoint users, and I'm sure you'll find more on Firepoint social media. But yeah, let us know if you have any questions. We'll share the slides as well, probably at least on our side via a blog. We'll shoot all of those who've attended and registered a webinar replay, so you can check back on this. And please use what you learned here. I think that you're gonna hopefully see your pipeline grow and sales cycle get cut in half, just like Gabe did.
Yes. Amen.
Cool. Well, thanks again, Gabe. Really appreciate it. Thanks everyone for joining us. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Thanks for having me. See ya.
Bye.